Hey there ladies, and welcome to my last video of the semester. And I was sure, absolutely sure, to leave the best for last, and that is female reproduction. Shout out to all you ladies out there. Now, we're just gonna jump right in. So, we're gonna be starting with follicular growth. And follicular growth occurs in a woman's ovaries. So what we have here is, we have the different follicles that are in follicular growth. So we have the primordial follicle, the primary follicle, the secondary follicle, and the tertiary follicle. So the primordial follicle can be identified through its simple squamous epithelium that surrounds the cell. And then the primary follicle is identified through its simple cuboidal epithelium. And then we have the secondary follicle can be defined by its stratified cuboidal epithelium, and the tertiary follicle can be defined by its stratified cuboidal epithelium as well as an antrum that is present within it. But more on a follicle. So the follicle has this inner ring, this dark blue ring that I drew in, and that's what you call a zona pellucida. And what a zona pellucida does is it protects the egg from being fertilized from anything other than a human sperm. And so the zona pellucida only allows human sperm inside of it. And the granulosa cells that surround the follicle, or the oocyte, is what produces estrogen inside of the woman. So, after we reach the tertiary follicle, we move on to the luteal phase. And within the luteal phase, before we get there actually, we have follicular growth here, and this is an ovary. So we have follicular growth, and as follicular growth gets to its tertiary follicle, a process called ovulation causes the oocyte within the follicle to be released outside of the ovary. And once this happens, it leaves behind this sort of scar. And the cells of the follicle wall begin to hypertrophy and divide to create a corpus luteum. And the main function of the corpus luteum is to produce progesterone. And what progesterone does for a woman, it basically makes the woman's uterus prepared for pregnancy. It just makes it nice, warm, thick, and juicy. So, however, just start cutting, Jeffrey. However, after 15 days, and the woman hasn't gotten pregnant, the corpus luteum will start to degrade and then become a corpus albicans, which is basically a dried up version of the corpus luteum, and ceases the production of progesterone within the body. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to move on to the menstrual cycle. And yeah, I'm a guy, so obviously I know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the menstrual cycle. So, there are three phases to the menstrual cycle. There's the luteal phase, the follicular phase, and the menses. So the follicular phase is defined by having high estrogen because of the follicular growth that is occurring, and the increased amount of granulosa cells that are present because granulosa cells produce estrogen. And then we have the luteal phase, which is identified through the high amount of progesterone because of the corpus albicans that is present. And once we get to menses is basically the sloughing of the lining of the uterus because of the woman wasn't impregnated. So the menstrual cycle goes like this. We start off with a base level of follicle stimulating hormone that allows for follicular growth to happen. And as the follicles grow, we have an increasing amount of estrogen being produced. And then eventually, once we reach a peak in our estrogen, we have luteinizing hormone begin to spike. Once luteinizing hormone spikes, we have ovulation occurs. Once ovulation occurs, we now have the presence of the corpus albicans. And once the corpus albicans is created, we then start increasing our production of progesterone. And at the same time, since progesterone is being created, we have our uterine wall that is represented down here starting to be built up for pregnancy. However, if the woman isn't impregnated, we begin menses, which is when the sloughing of uterine wall begin to happen, And then the process starts to begin over and over again. Now we're going to move on to the last thing I want to talk about. We're going to be talking about birth control. So the thing about birth control is it is done through two different methods. You can either take estrogen pills or progesterone pills. So I'll explain what both do. So I'll put this on for a second. So now we'll talk about how a progesterone pill works. Normally, the hypothalamus secretes a hormone called GnRH into the anterior pituitary, and GnRH is gonadotrophic releasing hormone. And what this does is it stimulates the anterior pituitary to secrete FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, which then causes that follicular growth, then eventually creating a corpus luteum. However, what the progesterone pill does is that it keeps the amount of progesterone in your body high, and if the amount of progesterone in your body is constantly high, this negatively feedbacks on your hypothalamus, preventing it from releasing the GnRH hormone, thus preventing FSH from being secreted. And the estrogen pill works very similarly. See, normally, like I said, the anterior pituitary secretes FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, but the estrogen pill keeps the estrogen in the woman's body naturally high. So once this happens, this negatively feedbacks on the anterior pituitary, thus preventing it from secreting FSH. And why I drew this is if you take an estrogen pill and the progesterone pill together, well, decreases your chances of pregnancy, which means it's most effective if you take both types of pills. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for women, for female reproduction. I know there's like a whole other part I didn't cover, like the fallopian tubes or the vagina itself. And the reason for that is because I don't want to confuse any of you and confuse myself in making the video, because if you can't tell what I drew, then if I can barely tell what I drew, and then I doubt any of you can tell what I drew. So if anything, I will explain it in person if you need me to. This video is admittedly pretty short, but I did want to say a few last things. That this semester has been really interesting for me. I never actually thought I'd be making these videos at all, or crazy enough to become an SI leader for next semester, but here I am, and I do want to thank a few people. First person I do want to thank is our professor, Mia Nobles. I would never have gotten this point without her being so enthusiastic and so amazing at teaching us physiology and making me love the subject. And I can't wait to show that same love and enthusiasm when I start my SI job next semester. And I do also want to thank a really good friend of mine. She really helped me put a lot of these things together and study for a lot of these tests, so yeah, you know who you are, and I'm sure you're watching this video, so anyways, I'm gonna be rambling, so I wish you all good luck on your final, and see you all later. Bye.